Dr. Isaac Bampoe-Addo. He is the Executive Secretary of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, Clogsag. They have agreed to the alternative offer that government is giving to labor so as to help government to reduce the debt burden, because consistently the finance minister says we shouldn't call this a second phase of a domestic debt exchange program or a restructuring of the remaining part of the domestic debt. So government says it needs help from the various stakeholders to reduce the debt burden. Well, guess what? The UTAG has rejected this. TUC, the mother union body, has also rejected this. But just less than 24 hours ago, Clogsag, Civil and Local Government Staff Association, have actually accepted this new deal based on their own assessment, which they say is going to help them. But there's the if clause there. That's what we had Dr. Isaac Bampoe-Addo end there, that if government does not renege on its promise to pay, that's the catch. Because there have been so many promises that have been broken when it comes to payment of matured coupons, especially to, for instance, pension bondholders and other individual bondholders as well. That should be a lesson for the Clogsag people. But guess what? This is what they have agreed to. Here's what we see so far. Exchanging treasury bonds. This is the alternative offer that government is pitching to the pension fund. Exchanging of the ESLA bonds, because some pension funds have been invested in treasury bonds, ESLA bonds, and the Dutch bonds as well. The new bonds which government is offering will be more liquid. Their government, in fact, the finance ministry is promising that there's going to be a maturity period of 4 to 5 years, and that average coupon rate of 18.5 per what Clogsag is telling us now, that will be increased to about 20% as against the current 18.5 that we're seeing. So this is just a fraction of the details that we saw in a leaked letter by the finance ministry to the labor unions to convince them to sign up to the help. We say help because this is what the finance minister said. He said that they need help. Okay, he's quoted in that letter that was signed by him, indicating, quote, what we are doing is working with stakeholders on how they can further help government to reduce high debt distress and unsustainable debt obligations in support of Ghana's economic recovery program. This is in a letter, paragraph 3 of the letter that the finance ministry issued, clarifying the fact that there's no second round of domestic debt exchange program. So the catch word there is help. Government says it needs help to reduce the debt burden. That's what they've done right now. What we are seeing, and take a look at this. This is the current, as we speak, as of September 2022, the domestic debt holders, okay? As of September 2022, this pie chart sort of gives a clear indication of Ghana's domestic public debt holdings, as in the various institutions that hold the debts, the domestic debts of government. Insurance companies in there, you see about 0.9%, rural banks 1.4%, pension funds make up 6% as at September 2022 of the domestic debt. Pension funds, that's what you see there, 6%. We have SNIT. SNIT has also invested in some government instruments. You see it there. And commercial banks hold a chunk of the domestic debt, about 33% of the total domestic debt. And already that has been restructured under domestic debt exchange program. So the commercial banks are hoping, and in fact, the insurance companies as well are hoping that this financial stability fund of 15 billion cedis will cushion them against the impact of the DDEP, which obviously we know that is going to be enough for them. And so the commercial banks are locked up in various meetings thinking about how to navigate through these difficult times that they have ahead of them. A number of them, from what we do know, have put a freeze on loans. A number of them are not advancing loans to the private sector. Mortgages have also been frozen. So it's a lot that's happening in the commercial bank space in this country. But this is how it looks like right now. But take a look at this as well. In what you saw in percentage terms in the pie chart earlier, this is the figurative terms as we see it. So, for instance, with the pension funds that we saw about 6%, if you translate it into figures, actually, the pension funds is about 10.88 billion of the domestic debt. Rural banks hold about 2.54 billion, and the commercial banks see that 59.9 billion. That has been restructured, and firms and institutions 45.4 billion, and then you have foreign investors and so on. So the focus for this new approach that government is seeking to reduce the domestic debt is the pension funds, that 10.88 billion, which was excluded from the first round of the domestic debt exchange program. What we're learning now is what Clogsag has agreed to. But how is that going to impact on the consolidated labor front that they had in rejecting pension funds being added to the first round of the domestic debt exchange program? That's our conversation tonight